The east section, not too bad.
Mayor,
So
they have a very good
So
draw.
he's trying to.
We're
find
recording.
it. Do that one.
They have-
So I don't-
The two other.
That's what we-
I just don't, I just not their accomplishment. I don't know, they just won so many games. They're not blowing out again, you know, they're 2-1, 4-3. That might be possible too. I don't know.
By one.
It's worse. Fifth inning, they start swinging.
$126.
Yeah, it's not 20, Josh.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it'll still need to come for our blessing. So.
Usually I do that more the.
I know they went up to
Parking
the.
lot.
I discovered that.
Got some humble pie and they got back.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think those two schools probably have about 800 girls to choose.
You're right, but sometimes
It's a 226.
Against the building.
Oh, I can't remember. I can't believe it. Must have it. Must have it.
Brian's in the, I'm not playing ever.
Good swing. I think you'd want to face the building because.
Well,
You
yeah.
have a bad experience?
Yeah, our flight.
So when
Everything that's going on in the flight industry.
Oh.
you get canceled a lot.
I see we had a
Yeah, we were.
vendor over by the old exchange bank here. A couple days ago, they had one of the
Turned into.
cars that sat there on the corner, went in on smashed
No,
down.
really.
First, 4-door sedan.
We didn't get home till 3 in the
I
morning.
don't know what
That is
happened.
awful.
And we were scheduled to get home by 11 that night.
Yeah.
And they don't care.
No.
All righty, let's get started. Looks like we got a nice agenda here, folks. Let's see what we need for moving. First thing is the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approve agenda.
Approved agenda.
Jennifer? Yes. Jake?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Public hearing to reinstate fees and procedure for electric service inadvertently repealed and establishing an effective date.
Move to open the public hearing.
Jake?
Yes.
Jennifer? Yes. Earl?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Any public comments tonight? Nobody's called out. Okay. With that, somebody please.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Earl?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Jennifer? Yes.
Approve the first reading of an ordinance reinstating fees and procedures for electric service inadvertently repealed and establishing an effective date.
So I don't know if you guys got the opportunity to look through, but there was a section that when we had increased the rates that got taken out, so we're putting it back in. Because really the only thing we wanted to change was the rates themselves.
Okay.
But they haven't made the other part.
Yeah, we
Keep
need to
getting
get it
this. July the
July first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Josh is on.
Second. Don?
Yes.
Josh? Did you hear?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Jen? Jennifer? Yes. Earl?
Yes.
Anybody want number two there?
I move that we waive the second and third readings of the ordinance that we just passed.
Second.
Earl?
You know I never do. Yeah.
Don?
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah.
Jennifer? Yes. Jake?
Yes. You approving a liquor one tonight?
Oh,
You're
that's not on
wrong
here
line.
tonight. Safe.
That's, Zach's in the dugout or on the third baseline right now. You all got his report today in your email. If you didn't see it, he did write a good little email. So we'll move along, Jeff.
Don't have anything really to report, on the fire department side. Everything's going really good. The guys had a rescue this week. I was very impressed with the guys and the way they handled themselves. It worked out on a positive manner. We completed the fireworks show. The young guys, they dove right in there, wired the show, put the show together. We let them shoot off the show. Our only casualty is somebody, not a, but a city fireworks show, had a hot ember get into a dumpster. But other than that, that's the only fire call we had over the 4th. As far as code, I've been doing some research on different city codes and fee structures. I'm trying to get some of that stuff put together. I saw a couple that I've been watching with their trash and they burn it on the 3rd. So I'll be having a visit with them. And I'm working with Alicia to put some doorknob cards together instead of putting tape with warnings on their doors. It's just a doorknob card that just hangs there like the city already used it. So we'll be able to identify several different little minor ordinances and we'll just check a box and go your yard or take the trash out.
Alrighty. Thank you, Jeff.
I got a couple.
I had a question about a house on Walnut Street. In the last block of Walnut before the fairgrounds, I saw that they tore down a garage. Did they have a permit for that?
I'll have to check it. I don't know, Josh. I'll have to check into that.
Darren Dixon's house.
Darren
Yeah,
Dixon.
I know he said he talked to you about it all.
I don't recall it.
Cause he said well, I just know, cause I was over there looking at it, but he said that he's gonna put a little porch on the front and build a garage in the back. So he said you were over there and checked it out.
Oh,
Permit.
okay. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I was thinking of it.
Yeah.
I did this on that.
I'm sure that's who he's talking about. 'cause
Yeah, he
Darren
did,
took down the
Josh.
garage.
Yes, he did.
He did. Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine.
No, that's fine.
No, I didn't. But I'm ringing a bell with
Yeah, the NCC director, we're taking care of some deferred maintenance, as I mentioned before. We've got quite a bit of deferred maintenance on that building inside and out, and we're tackling that. Alan Francis is painting our sign and probably has it finished by now. Probably cost us a total of $300 instead of spending upwards of $1,000 for a totally new sign. We're going to be doing a major landscaping project on the west there. We got some erosion problems and the dirt has sunk over the years. And we'll be doing that in the next maybe month and a half. And then we got some things inside that we're working on. But we'll address those as they need to be done.
And it's done.
Took me a second. The houses built like two
Right
fire
now, we were
departments.
saying, yeah. Jeff,
10 years on that.
you were done, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see Main Street. And I don't see DC. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Earl.
Yes.
Discuss and decide items for election ballot changing to one ward and at-large candidates.
You digging that?
Okay, the mayor had brought up last meeting if we would want to put that on the election ballot in November, to have just, so I talked with, Debbie Jar, who does the elections, and there's two different ways we can do that. We can become one ward and then everybody is in the same ward, or you can keep your wards, but have everybody at large. So we're at the point right now with, is what we really just need to decide is which way you want it. If we're trying to make it easier on everybody, she said she kind of thought that it'd be the easiest way is to have everybody in the same ward and everybody else basically then is at large. That way they can go down from 3 polling places to 1. And just as a comparison, Des Moines has 5 polling places and we have 3. So we kind of put that into perspective. Okay. So that's kind of what we need to decide. She said that there are sometimes some elections, depending on, there might be something that people vote on, that they would still need to split up into the 3 she said, but it wouldn't happen very often. That would be a special thing. So, we just kind of, you guys need to kind of decide which way you want to go, and then hopefully Gayla can walk us through that process. But, I think the main thing right now is just to know what we want to do. So we can
Sounds
have.
like three options. You can stay like we have. now.
Yeah.
Or you could be all under one ward, or we could keep the wards and everybody goes to an at-large position, so 5 houses in a row could be your council. If, you know, that's the at-large, you know, it could all be down in Earls or all up by me or whatever, but who knows? I just know it is seeming to get a little harder every time there's an election. Earl, you haven't really had anybody. I don't know, who lives in Ward 3. Maybe you're the only one that lives in Ward 3. I don't know. So, but you can definitely just leave it as is if you guys don't want to touch that. So,
Gayla, what's your 2 cents worth?
We just didn't think we were gonna be able to do it till 2030, but.
Yeah, that's what I thought until last week or last.
isn't there a cost savings that cost, if you do this and get it done going forward, the elections cost a lot less or something, right?
Well, yeah, I
Some
mean,
less.
yeah, some less. There's gonna be, because obviously they'll be able to get one ballot for everybody to use and
Yeah,
not
right.
kind of guesstimate, well, how many people are gonna be in Drakesville and how many are gonna be in Pulaski or whatnot, or city in each of your wards. It would just be one, but, I had printed, I haven't had a chance to read them all, but I printed the different chapters from the state that says, yes, we can do it, and here's some rules behind it. But like Gayla just mentioned, there is a time that we typically do like every 7 years or so where we do our map and we say what each ward is, and we can change it at that time. But I did just do that year before last, I believe. So I think we still probably got about 5 years before that comes around. If you don't want to go through the expense of doing it on your own, you can change them at that time.
Is there a downside to making a change or a noticeable downside?
I mean, the only thing would be those of you that are elected to wards would be running citywide versus, and we'll have to work on that. I haven't studied whether there's staggering that would happen or if everybody gets voted in at the same time. So those would be a couple of issues that we have to iron out.
I would think you'd be able to, as like when I'll be up this fall, so I'll be on
The ballot.
the ballot. But somebody that's 2 years out yet, that wouldn't happen until 2 years from now. They'd stay grandfathered until, I think you could word it that way, couldn't you?
I'm sure we can.
And then everything becomes at large. So as it rotates over.
I would think you would want it still staggered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you want to come in here every 4 years and have a brand new fall.
No,
I think that the opportunity of having 5 brand new councilmen when there's always a project going on, there's
Yep.
always something going
Yep.
on. I think you'd need some dollars to that project
Yeah.
going on, not.
My only question is this something we would put on the ballot for the citizens to decide, do they want to switch? I
Yeah.
mean, it's really, yeah, where we're at is, should we ask them, would you like to see a change? And let them decide
Probably
that,
give the guidance, so this is what we want to do. So make
Right.
the decision. I
right?
get my question then would be if we go to the 3 ward and everyone at large, is it still only one polling place if that's the case? Because you still have 3 wards identified. that's all
So it was my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, they would still have one and you would still be able to, vote for everybody at large within the city limits, but if there was a special election where they had something specific to that, whoever still lived in that ward would vote on that. Is that how you took it?
Well, I guess I thought that if they keep the 3 wards, but everybody's at large, they still have to do the 3 polling places.
I'm never think that.
I think that's
Okay, that's what I wanted to.
I think that's the
Sound like-
benefit of going to 1 ward is that you
Yeah.
only have to have the polling place. But then,
Well,
but like you
I
said,
guess
then it would
there's
also
something,
be special.
yeah, and the other question really is I feel like if we were to change it, our reason for changing it isn't really so that the county has one polling place. It would be so that we had more of a selection of people who would hopefully want to run for council. But, you know, I guess you have to decide, wow, would be. Obviously, we'd have to change the ordinance too, because the ordinance states that we have 3 wards.
What circumstance would, I can't think of one off my head, where we would have to have that special election per ward. I can't think of anything in the last 3+
Yeah.
years where we've had to do that.
I wouldn't think you'd have to, as long as you had the 5 at large. You know, because the only other
That would be
one.
very, very rare.
Right. She wanted to let us know that, just in case something should happen, still.
And if we were one ward with 5 at large, how would we delineate a special election for a
You
certain
wouldn't
area?
at that point,
Okay,
right?
We don't have to make that
Right.
decision.
okay, we don't.
No.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying
No, no, no.
Yeah.
The polling people do that, would tell us that we have to have different,
Okay,
yeah, we don't do
it's not
that.
our decision. Okay.
So what action do we need to take back?
Well, you can either vote tonight, or if you want to sit on it and vote at the next meeting, we would need to make a decision at the next meeting though, because I have to turn in an election worksheet by August 7th, I think. So we would, if you guys want to think about it, until next time, then we could vote on it next time. And if you're, I guess my thought is, if you think you would like us to look into it more, and if you answer any other questions you might have. So,
I think my major concern would all communities be represented. So that's a big question for me.
All parts of the town.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people that would run Bloomfield residents, and we have a lot of outlying towns.
Well,
No, they still have to be a resident. So
What's that?
the question of whether,
Josh.
yeah, it's just whether everybody on Franklin Street gets elected versus people
Sure.
all over
And
town.
I think that would cause a problem.
I think voters probably take care of that.
I would hope so, but
Yeah.
You wanna think about it and get any questions or?
I think it's a great idea myself. You know, I have some reservations, but gee, you know, it's hard to get anybody to run as it is. And so, yeah, I think one ward with 5 at large would work really well.
That motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
okay, Jake?
And is this just to go on the ballot?
That's what I was.
No, this is just we're in favor of this idea, and then we'll figure out if we have to do some more
Yeah.
formal things
I was gonna say.
to get down that path.
We're in favor of.
Because it has to go on the ballot.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe it does.
Yeah, I would put it out.
Yes.
Josh,
no.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Approve purchase of 60-inch mower for water department in the amount of $15,039.
Now, this is the mower that we actually budgeted for last year, for this year's budget, so come around and pick the mower up. Got the water plant for mowing all the grass around the water plant.
How long do our mowers last? I swear I've been mayor now about 10 years and I swear we bought 20 mowers. I mean,
I'd have to do.
every year we got a mower on there. I mean, it's like, we tear them up that quick. And I mean, I was in the mowing business,
I mean,
that
what-
same mower for 10
I
years.
haven't seen us, obviously since I've been here, we haven't sold anything.
Yeah.
We just added to and divided departments where Robbie specialized in his mowers. It's helped him a bunch on the lake. But I know they have sold a couple in the past. We've sold them on, we had a Skagit we had for 20+ years. I think it brought, what, $6,000 on Purple Wave.
Okay.
So they have sold a few. We ain't turned them up beyond getting something out of them myself.
Okay.
But I could sure get back to you with that, Chris, and find out the age of all of them and something, tell you how many
That'd
we
be
have.
nice to know.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a misconception that just, you see a mower and I used to mow.
I agree.
We really haven't bought that many mowers in the last 10 years. I don't.
Well, they get all.
Last four,
the
was- this would be the second, I know, but, so 3 years ago, we were gonna buy 2 new ones for the water department. We didn't buy any. Last year, we budgeted for 2, but we bought 1. This year, we budgeted for 1, and they're asking for the 1 to be replaced, but, I personally, my opinion is that we gotta have it right now, but I do think that if you don't do it now, you should do it shortly, because we've pushed it off 3.5 years. But just because they do kind of help mow, like with Lake Fisher and out there around the water plant, but, as you know, we're only gonna have 1 person at the moment in water till we hire somebody, so we did get 1 last year. So this is in there for this year, but if you don't do it right now, it's still gonna just sit, the money will sit there and you can decide later too. Doesn't matter. Personally, in my opinion,
And it was a budgeted item,
it was,
obviously.
yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion, we go ahead and purchase it.
Second.
Because those mowers out there at Lake Fisher get a lot of use. There's somebody mowing all the time out there. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Lake looks nice. And maybe with this, Prairie Partner project we may do,
Mhm.
we can cut down on some of the mowing wear and tear on the equipment.
Okay, Josh,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Resolution to approve interdepartmental fund transfers in the amount of $1 million, $2,125.
So those are the transfers for this past fiscal year. I'll kind of discuss the budget in a little bit, but those are our standard transfers that we had planned in the budget. And then the ones that we always do every year. So, we noticed we didn't have a resolution completed. We've not done the transfers yet to make sure that there's no issues, but for the fund balances and the money that we will be spending this next year, we'll need to do them still, which is transferring the money from the Fort utilities to help pay the bills. And there should be a chart there if you have questions.
Move to approve the resolution for the fund transfers.
Second.
Earl,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Approve invoice IMV 86338 from IMWCA in the amount of $7,531 for the remainder of 23-24 premium.
So the invoice that was actually in your packet was just for the $3,400, I think. The 7531 pays us off for the rest of the year. Because remember, we did 25,000 last year, or last fiscal year, so.
This is workman's comp insurance.
Second.
Earl,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Approve claims.
You know what? We already did that up in the
Yes.
consent agenda. I didn't get that off, sorry.
Okay. Public comments. None of those will go on to Tommy Joe.
Okay, so, first thing that I have for you is just fiscal year 23 budget update. I do not have June bank accounts reconciled yet, but I do have all the debits and everything in. So I was just gonna give you a rundown that, in 2020, when I started, the budget was 15 million. 21, it was up to 20 million. 22, it was back to 15. And then this past year, it was 13.2 million. So, how much we spent, good news, bad news. Bad news is we did an amendment, didn't need it, but the good news is we finished right at 13 million this year, even with the grants and everything that we did. So, I'm excited about that because we spent about $1 million so far out of pocket on grants that originally we didn't have budgeted, but we got awarded. So we were able to, cut back. I know there was a lot of people that came in saying, can we buy this or that? And Rusty helped me tell him, no, we have other stuff we have to pay for. So we did finish right at the 13 million that we had originally budgeted. For 2024, our budget is expected to come in at 14 million because the playground, the HVAC and the facade didn't get done by May 31st. So it got extended to August 31st. So there is an extra $1 million cushion in there. I don't think we'll spend that much personally, but it might give us some little cushion because the Trails Grant application, I know it was disclosed it was going to be around 640, 650 at the meeting, but the application came in Friday late and it says 804,000. So if that's the case and it gets awarded, we'll need 804 out of our budget, not 600. Now, there is matching grant funds, so like the city isn't gonna have to put that out, but the way the grant works is we'll have to pay for it to get reimbursed. So there's a little bit of cushion in there. Hopefully I don't say that too loud for Public Works to hear. But we do have it sitting at 14 million. Cindy Kendall would like us to try to stay at 13 million each year if we can. Stay the size of our town. We should try to get to that point. So right now, on a positive note, we've spent the money for the expenses for those grants. They're almost done. The playground's done. The HVAC is almost done. And then the facades are almost done. So in this fiscal year, we'll actually be getting reimbursed another 645 or so thousand that we didn't plan on revenue coming in. So good news, bad news when they run long and, you know, don't necessarily get to that point. But I am excited to try to see if we can't just cut it a little more. But that's just my own opinion. I know the prices are raising, but I think we're getting to the point that everybody kind of knows they're getting the same amount of money each year to spend. If we don't have any major catastrophes, knock on wood, we should be good. But I just want to give you an update with that. Hopefully I'll get my June statements from the bank this week and we can get those reconciled. But so far, everything looks good and on track. And then the second thing I was going to talk about was really just guidance. Jeff and I had a conversation. And then, so we have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or whatnot, but I called the auditor. We had a question on, so we have a savings account for the police, the library, and the fire. And there are sometimes some certain restrictions what we can use that money for. I wasn't sure what the fire department could use their savings for, and it turns out that there isn't any restriction as long as it's for fire expenses. So I had called the auditor to kind of talk through with him. Is there anything that, you know, we can do? One thing Jeff and I discussed was it's hard to kind of save for like a new fire truck, because if they're $1 million and we don't have that in the budget, at the end of the year, that money's just gone. And so one thing we talked about was, you know, is there anything we can do to try to use the savings to get up a pot, or if there's a grant, we'll have matching funds sitting there that we could use. And one thing that was brought to my attention was the fairgrounds had a water truck that would help water the racetrack. And since then it's been broken. So they're asking if, you know, are we able to, you know, either enter into a contract or do something where we would provide a tanker truck, which I think we have 2 tankers, right? One township, one ours.
Here's the thing, the tankers belong to the trustees.
Okay, they both do.
Both trucks belong to the trustees, so they are not actually city trucks.
Okay,
So the deal with the handshake agreement was, and we take a truck out there a lot to wash the bleachers and make things look nice, just as the city does to help them out. So we've been using one of the water trucks. We always keep one in the backup. So that's what we were doing. The handshake agreement with the fair board was they would pay $500 to the trustees to put into the savings account in case there would be a breakdown. The truck is only ran by firemen. We're using that time when they're out there running that truck as training, because of the new guys, they're not familiar with pump settings and stuff like that. So we've been utilizing that. That's where we are with that right now. The plan is, when we first discussed that, we were going to use the old tanker. So the fair board has paid for fittings, a ball valve, and we're using a trash pump to pump water off the truck to spray the track with the old tanker. So we never have both tankers out there at the same time, just in case, because you never know. We always keep one. So our primary tanker will stay at the station unless the other one is broke down. So that's where we're at with that. So everything's been on a handshake.
Who pays for the water in the tank?
The water comes out of the pond.
Okay.
Yeah, so the main thing that the auditor said was he doesn't see, big issue with us doing it, but he suggested a couple things. One, he said, should you have your city attorney type up some sort of contract so that the townships know what's being done, what's being used, who's expected to pay for it, so that the townships, for example, if there's a piece of equipment that should break on it while it's being used at the fairgrounds, would the fair would know up front that that would be their responsibility, or pretty much just something outlined, whether it was like a contract or a 2080, something that states, yes, we're going to allow you to use this because it's the townships technically, or which we bill, half of that for or whatnot. Who's going to pay for the wear and tear on the vehicle if we use it more? And this was just some of his questions. Obviously the water and the fuel would be reimbursable back from the fairgrounds. And then could we put that $500 in savings or not to save for fire expenses? What happens? One of his questions was, what happens if we should have a big enough fire that we would need both tankers? Would the fairgrounds understand? And it would outline it in this paperwork stating that if we had to go, we're going to have to go. But it's my understanding that the racetrack gets watered like a couple days before, not really like during the race.
Only water in a couple of
Right.
days.
So I don't know that would be an
Starting Sunday
issue.
night. And I'd make a few laps around, put some water down, then Monday night and whatnot. But as far as a big fire, Davis County has 5 other tankers.
Yeah.
We've got close to almost 30,000 gallons of water that we could rely on immediately for a fire. Not to mention, if it was that big, we have Wapello, Centerville, we got surrounding communities that all have tankers.
So then the last question was, obviously the expense of like the fuel or the car parts per se, or truck parts, would come out of our fire department budget. And then we would bill either the townships if it was something that broke during that time, or the fairgrounds if it broke during it was the use for the fairgrounds. So he just suggested that we bring it to council, make sure everybody was okay with it. And then he suggested we probably should put something in writing, because if not, let's say we go buy $100 worth of fuel and we bill, not saying that the fairgrounds isn't going to reimburse us, but just to make sure that every party, the townships, us, and the fairgrounds know, here's what's expected. Here's who's going to cover what costs. And with it being the township's truck, just them knowing we're going to use it for this purpose. Is that okay? Just to be transparent more than anything. So, I just didn't know if you guys wanted, Gayla to kind of look into something, just so everybody's aware. As far as the budget goes, obviously, this year's budget's done. So not saying that you couldn't do it, but it would come out of the fuel would come out of Jeff's fuel budget. And because unless I don't know, I guess I shouldn't really say it that way, unless the fairground is paying for that separate instead of
Fairgrounds
reimbursing
paying for the
us.
fuel.
So you won't bill them for that. You'll just bill them $500.
No, they'll get billed the $500 plus whatever fuel is expended.
Okay, so I didn't know if they could bill
The last race, we got, should have been a check for $587, 500 for the race, 87 something
for
for the
fuel.
fuel.
So the 87 would come out of our budget. We would get reimbursed from
You get
it.
500 per race?
Yeah.
Oh, not 500 for the year.
No, 500 per race.
Okay.
For repair, any future repairs and maintenance. So basically, let's say pump or nozzle comes off of it and breaks. We got some money saved up in our savings account to replace that, to fix it. Anything else of that, we can discuss with the trustees and
Okay.
Probably the Friends of the Fire Department, that's what we do fundraising for.
So yeah, I guess probably the thing that would come out of the budget then would be the fuel. So we would just need to keep that in mind because when you go to fill that up, that'll take out of your regular fire department budget. So like he said, I'm not saying you can't do it. He said, but to be transparent, in his opinion, he would put stuff in writing so there's no, you know, questions or hard feelings if something, what if something should break? We don't want like the fairgrounds to say, well, you know, that was really, had been broke for a little bit. We don't want to pay for it. Or the township say, well, we don't think we should have to pay for it because we were using it for this or that. So if you sign or look or iron it all out ahead of time before it's done, then everybody would understand how it should go. It might save a little bit of headache if something should happen. If nothing happens, then you don't have to worry about it. But so I don't really personally have to have a vote on anything, but I wanted to let you know what the auditor's suggestion was. And those are,
We're always supposed to be transparent too, is what he's saying, or request.
so he suggested that we have something with the fair board, so they know in writing, because it was done, like he said, kind of on a handshake or in their meeting is to, let's do this. They would know upfront what's expected, like you're gonna pay the $500 in writing.
Parties, I wasn't sure if he's talking about like the
And then-
citizens, taxpayers, or.
And then, well, I mean, they're gonna help pay for it too, if their money goes towards the townships, and then the townships, maybe, I don't know if they sign off on it too, but just to let them know, hey, we're gonna use this truck and this is what we're gonna do. If they're not on the hook for anything, I don't know that they're really gonna mind, per se.
I thought, did you say it's their truck? though? The
Well,
trustees?
So the trustees help pay for them, yes, but we insure them.
Yeah.
So what happens is we purchase items like a truck and then we bill them for usually half of whatever the expense is. But I don't know, I haven't ever looked at the tanker trucks to see if they paid 100% for them, but
I think one's 100% township and isn't
think
the other one
so.
50/50?
They're all,
They're both 100%, okay.
they're both townships.
so they paid for them. We as a fire department use them.
They're
And
usually
Because aren't they-
tankers is-
we as a city,
Aren't they mostly for like grass?
Insurance.
The tankers are for county because we don't have hydrants. The city, we can hook up to a hydrant. That's why all of our trucks are all set up to hook up to hydrants. The only time we would use a tanker setup, heaven forbid, if we have another fire on the square. And we're bringing in people and we've got telesquirts and everything. They just need massive amounts of water. And our water system is not gonna be able to handle it. So we're gonna be bringing stuff out of the lake.
hopefully we don't ever have to.
Yeah.
But, you know, I
Sure,
think,
done this.
yeah, well, the first year we've been asked because the fair board had used their own truck before, or one that somebody on the fair board had.
We
And
have an old tanker
It was
truck,
broke.
but now it's decided that when it does run, it doesn't. Oh, it's gonna stop.
I just think it kind of sounds like it's been running fairly smoothly. I didn't know how long it's been doing that way, so.
oh, they just did it for the first time.
Okay.
so
yeah, that must've been going on for several years.
I don't know what the other option is for the fairgrounds, other than they would have to buy their own truck to replace the one that just broke if we don't help them. But like I said, the auditor said, he's not saying that you can't do it, but he just felt like to prevent any conflicts or anything to have it. So everybody knows up front, here's what's
Get
going
the
on.
handshake deal in writing.
Right, pretty much, yeah. Because the handshake deal was between Jeff and his fair, not the city or the townships. You know, him representing the city or the fire department. So,
This may be the last year because we are trying to find a truck and we have been. It's just everything used is sky high right now.
I don't see a problem with getting in writing. Just covering all the bases. It protects them, it protects us, it protects all parties involved. I don't think it hurts.
that's all I have tonight.
Just real quick, they finished the project down on Jones Street. The street guys knocked that out. It's a culvert project we've been having. It's been an issue for many years, so they ridged down to the bottom of the hill at the old, storage units crosses their property. So they got that wrapped up, did a good job there. And just basically wanted to, on Howard Street, it's 75% done down, by the school. They finished up one intersection today, should open it tomorrow. And we'll get they're waiting on the other structure to come in, for the other intersection. So we'll get that done. And they'll move right down to Columbia Street and start in on that culvert, get that knocked out. And as everybody knows, we had the storm last week on Thursday night, I think, or Thursday, and come in and we had just a very few outages, through town. And I just wanted to give kudos to all the workers. They did really good. They did anything we asked them to do. They all jumped in, got trees out of the roads. We only had one pole break off. They took care of it. Today and yesterday, we went around picking up all the brush from everybody. We'll do tomorrow, finish it out for the weekend. So they did a good job.
We had one citizens who got trash picked up out of the yards, me being one of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Tammy?
Yeah, I just have some updates for you. I talked to Matt Walker about the sidewalk, and I did put this in an email so that you guys have this as well. So I know Tommy Joe was checking on something, so what I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you looked at Tommy Joe and found out if we can do it this way or not.
The dates?
Yeah,
Not necessarily.
you didn't look it up, or,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a whole chapter. I don't know
Okay.
if those dates work with the publication.
so right now, at the July 20th council meeting, we'll set a date for the public hearing for August 17th. August 15th, we'll open bids. August 17th at the public hearing, the council will consider and award the bids at that point in time. I want to talk about the sidewalk just a little bit with this grant, because I know it's seemed to have drug out, and because it has. But I wanted to explain with this grant what has to happen and the reason why, just kind of quickly. So the engineer has to submit drawings at 30%, 60%, 90%, and 100% completion. And he has to submit it to IDLES. So at 30%, he sends them in. They either approve them or say, we need to make changes. Now, when they do that, it can take anywhere from 5 weeks to two weeks to get those back. It just depends. And then if there's changes, then they have to come back, make the changes in the drawings, and then resubmit them at every step of that way. So one set of drawings at 30% could take 2 months because of how that works, and we have no control over that. At 60%, that's when we had to have the easements all signed, the maintenance agreements. We went out for quotes for the bioretention cells, plus the drawings had to be submitted. So that one took a little bit longer as well. We have submitted at 100%, and Matt had to make one change. It's approved, and that's why these dates are set up. So as far as the drawings are all concerned and all of that, that's finally done. But this grant has taken longer because of the way that's set up. Now, the process for the next grant, hopefully that we do for the sidewalks, will be more streamlined. We already know we have to do the easements. The easements and the maintenance agreements can be done at the beginning of the process rather than in the middle. And because the former council was anticipating starting on the west side, over 50% of the engineering is already done on that side of the square. So we're ahead of the game there, and we know now what has to be done. And all of that stuff can be done more expediently. The quotes are already done for the bioretention cells and all of that. So I put that in an email to you guys so you have it in written form too, but I wanted to explain why this time it took so long. That's the reason why, because at each one of those junctions, it can take up to 2 months to get it back and forth between the back and forth. So I wanted to let you know about that. As far as the CDBG facade grants, the B demo still is waiting for a Temoil glass to come in to put the glass in the back, and they're supposed to be in town next week. Milo's grant work is completed. Image Shaper's grant work is completed, and we're waiting on the last change order for Blackboard Printing to sign that. And I've been in contact with her numerous times to try to get that signed or move forwards in some manner. So I'm just waiting on resolution for that, but it's 95% completion for the facade. So any questions on that?
we expect the facade to be somewhere in a week.
It
I
has
mean,
to.
I don't have any problem walking up there. But I mean, we're done now. You know, we're done.
Yeah.
We have went through all the avenues
Yeah,
to
John.
show
Yep.
that this is needed, et cetera. It's like a car and it hits a deer. You don't know what the damage is behind, you know, there's causes. So I'm not quite sure what the hangup is now. I mean, the person
And-
signed up for these things. They knew what they were getting into. I just want to see this building completed.
And I'm with you, Mayor. We have gone, I had the engineer come back.
And it sounds like the
And-
last step is a favorable step for this person
Yeah.
because it's a cost saving. I mean,
It is.
that
And
raise in their hand saved them another, you know, few
Saved them quite a bit of money,
$1,000s,
yeah.
but it's not gonna go to zero. I mean, it's somewhere along the line, you gotta say, okay, I give in or whatever whatever the
Yeah,
thing is.
I feel like we've gone back to the engineer for new drawings to make it better. I have contacted the architect and said, are you in agreement with this? And he said, yes, my opinion is that they sign the agreement, sign the change order and move forward.
Okay,
So I think we've covered all the bases that I could know to cover.
so hopefully here,
Yeah,
any day, we'll get that signed and get them in here, and button this one up and get her off the notes.
move forward.
Okay.
Yeah. There was one more thing I did want to tell you about, and I'm sorry. We had an opportunity at a grant, and I just didn't want this to go by the wayside. There's infrastructure money out there for, it's up to $500 million. And I talked to Rusty about it. The grant is very complex. But what I talked to Eric, I'm sorry, you're not Eric. Rusty about is, bringing the lines from the solar field into the city and, doing a better job of distribution. This grant would cover it. Jeff Geertz at ADA really wanted us to apply for it. I went through the grant, meticulously. I talked to Rusty and all of that. You guys would have had to approve it tonight. We'd have had to have the pre-application done by the 9th. And I just got it this last week. It's extremely complex. It would be a lot of money to match it. But there's also in-kind money. And really, we don't have the studies done that are necessary for the grant. Rusty and I felt like we did. We don't know what line loss is. We don't know if the upgrades would handle what it is we wanted to do. So I did ask if there were another grant out there that we could have these studies done to show that, hey, yes, this type of upgrade would be very beneficial to the city. This is what you could expect in cost savings. We don't have easements set up to the properties to bring the lines. We're not shovel ready for it. But I also wanted you to know about the opportunity because it was given to us. And Iowa State wanted to help and all of that. It's refunded next year. I feel like after the studies are done and we're in a better position to make that decision, we could potentially apply for it. But I wanted you to know that we were offered the opportunity, but I didn't think with all the information it was a good idea at this time.
All right.
Now, many times by the time we know about something, then you don't have enough time to get all that done.
Well, and this is still complex. It's a federal grant. It's federal money, and those are always a nightmare. I mean, the grant alone for the pre-application that I went through was 85 pages. And that was for the pre-application. So it's just not, we couldn't react fast enough. And I couldn't give you guys enough information that would be good information to be able to act on it, so.
All righty, good report. Thank you. Council updates?
Rusty, were you gonna make a comment about our project over at the Mulcher Center on the trail,
With the trail, well, just from what we,
Elm Creek one?
what we looked at, I mean, it won't take much once we decided who's paying for everything.
Yeah, I did want to bring up, something we've discovered recently in looking at these 2080 agreements. The 2080 agreement that involves the trail should have been entered into by 5 entities, but it was only entered into by 3. The city, the Trails Council, and the Conservation Board. Some of the property that the trail is on is owned by the county. We'll talk about that in regards to snow removal. recently, we were made aware, and some people may have known this, that the Mosler Center owns property where the trail needs some repair. Since they're not a party to the 2080 agreement, they're dragging their feet on wanting to pay for any repairs, even though we got a little project, probably what, $1,000?
Yeah, not even have that problem.
That needs immediate attention, and we're doing it. In fact, Mosler Center voted at the last meeting to have the project done and determine who's gonna pay for it at a later date, which I did not agree with, but that's the way it went. So the question is going to arise, Gayla, who's going to pay for repairs to the trail on property owned by an entity that is not part of the 2080 agreement? And when we rewrite this 2080 agreement, we probably should include all 5 entities that are affected by it. You don't have to give an answer right now, but that's hanging back in the bushes.
Any other updates?
I have one other thing I forgot to say. Well, so on the corner, then we had the issue with the sidewalks and issue of the state possibly not doing sidewalks around the southeast or the southeast corner of the square with Neville. And they are gonna be tearing down the wall tomorrow morning. They'll be taking care of that project tomorrow morning. I think the majority will be done. The DOT inspector will be there on site while we do that. So he's making good progress. He's really putting them.
But we hope when that comes down, the inspector says,
He's
you're
gonna be
good to
right
go
there,
now.
and then he's got-
We're gonna do the sidewalks, you're back in scope.
They'll give him an inspection, and he's also got footing support in the basement in the last 3 weeks to, help those structures as well. So, yeah, he's really making an effort to make this happen for him. So they will.
I actually said, Tommy and Joe and I were talking today, and I said, I
I just,
really appreciate the Neville family because
absolutely.
there might have been some other owners that would have said, I just can't take this on right now. You'll have to do whatever you have to
Yeah,
do.
the state's gonna. close
They
down.
they are trying, and it's in a really timely manner. I'm not sure, I need to get some of their contacts, how they get people to show up and work. for them.
The state is actually stepping in.
I mean, I got projects and I write a lot of checks and they seem to cash, but nobody wants to come and do it. No.
I do have one other question. Are we doing any flowers or anything as a city for Chief Armstrong's funeral?
I sure hope we are.
Could we, you ladies to do something and that's appropriate? We would appreciate it
I
very
guess-
much. We be in the council.
Speaking of that, I didn't know whether the mayor can request that flags be at half staff for Monday and Tuesday. I don't know whether he can do
Sure I
that.
can.
We're sure gonna try, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, you're going into my comments.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But, in
I
case
didn't think you
you,
had anything to say.
no, not always.
Great minds work alike.
But, that if you haven't already seen or know that the city will be shut down from 10 to noon,
10 to 2, or 10 to 9.
10 to noon on Tuesday, which is, the chief's funeral. What basically we've said to all city employees, you're free to go to the funeral. If you don't want to go to the funeral, we expect you to stay and work, so, hopefully a lot of people, take that up on that, and everything. And then, the funeral is Tuesday, the visitation is Monday night.
Is it only Wagler's or when the location?
I believe
Yes, I believe so. So I would encourage you, if you've had any dealings with Sean, to attend that, so. Rusty, you alluded to, I really appreciate the guys. I made a call to Rusty the day after the storm and said, I think there's enough down on the ground that if you can get it to the curb, can we have the guys pick that up? Rusty and I talked for 15, 20 minutes on it. We thought it was a good idea. And I noticed a couple of my neighbors drug their feet, didn't get it down on the curb till Thursday at 5 o'clock at night. He didn't even know that it was published on Thursday. But I looked out today at lunch and they were gone. And I know this gentleman didn't go and take it himself. So, so you guys have made a pass or two, it seems, and, a lot of people said it themselves already, but we also know that we're in an elderly community for the most part. they can't get that out. So, so I wanted to make sure that you pass that on. I'm sure you've told your guys that we're really appreciative of that type of work that they do to help out the community. So, other than that, I, don't have much more. I would encourage you to at least go sign the book or go to the funeral or the visitation. Sean was a great police chief for Bloomfield. He was the right type of police chief for Bloomfield. He was just a down home Barney Fife type, but he also got the job done as well. And he had nothing. If you look out there, I can't believe the number of people that have shared his funeral. If you're on Facebook, I mean, it's every other person and nothing but kind words. So that guy, he didn't get to enjoy his retirement, but we appreciate everything he did here at the city. So, I don't know, probably can't use public funds for flowers, right? It'll be just a donation.
We got it.
Okay, all right. Any other comments tonight? Well, I thought it was a 15-minute one, but my wife had just informed me that I never tell her the right.
Most people would guarantee.
Okay, Jennifer.
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Josh.
Hey, Dick, what am I supposed to do with the key?